Welcome. Thank you so much for joining me for another session of Behind the Veil. This is Stephen Williams, and I appreciate the opportunity to come into your space. Thank you so much. For those of you who are subscribers, thank you so much for coming back. For those of you who are just looking at us brand new, I appreciate you. Come on back out again and hear what's going on as we journey behind the veil. And I have the honor today to have one of my friends, and this is going to be a great interview. We're going to find out something. Those of you who know him, he's a music extraordinaire producer, but this is my main man. His name is Mischeal Goldsmith, and we appreciate him joining us behind the veil. We're getting ready to find out some good stuff about how he got where he got and what he's doing. And welcome to Behind the Veil. Let's start this off just from the Genesis. Right. Tell me about Mischeal and the name Mischeal.
Mischeal.
Because everybody gets this name mixed up.
Yes.
They confuse your name. Where does it come from? What was your mama thinking when she...
I can't blame my mama for this one. This would be my father named me Mischeal. My father that raised me named me Mischeal. He said that Shadrach, Mischeal, and Abednego, before being captured, Meshach's name was Mischeal.
Yes.
And that's where my name comes from. That's that's my understanding.
That's your understanding.
That's my understanding. Now I've heard people preach from that scripture, and they don't say Mischeal.
Right.
I've heard Mischeal, yeah.
Mischeal.
But that's where my dad got it from. So I've never met another Mischeal.
No.
Never ever.
I can't. Now spell it for the people of God.
Mischeal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how I've seen it. Do you know what it means? Is there a meaning behind it?
My dad told me it meant precious gift from God.
Cool.
That's what he told me. I have never investigated it, but that's what I'm rolling with. That's what I'm rolling with. That's what he said.
That's what they said. That's what we're going to do.
That's what I'm rolling with.
So tell me, we're going to get to all the stuff about what you've done in your life, but let's go back. So my journey is, let's go back to 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, Mischeal. Who is that guy?
That guy's pretty shy. He's pretty shy. Obviously we grew up in church. At 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and around that age, me and my brother, my mom and dad were at that time still married.
Okay.
But my dad traveled. He was an entrepreneur back before it was popular to do that.
Gotcha.
And so he would travel a lot. So he wasn't really home a lot. So we were really raised by the men in our church family for the most part on the male side of it.
Gotcha.
And of course my mom raised both me and my brother pretty much those years by herself a lot.
Okay. So you grew up, we kind of have that in common where mom was the strong.
Definitely.
Was the strong force. So were you born here?
In Winston, yes.
You were born in Winston, raised in Winston.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good deal.
So it's 8 or 9. So I at one year, I might have been 9. We moved to Peoria, Illinois.
Okay.
For like a year. My dad had started working with Dudley hair products. Like when it was first, they were really like getting it going. And my dad was working, and Mr. Dudley actually moved our family to Chicago. Yeah, for my dad to work with him.
Good deal.
And so we was there for about, maybe me and my brother might have stayed about 6 months. And then eventually we left, me and my brother moved because my mom and dad were gonna stay in Chicago. It was a culture shock. Like, the weather, the school system was like different than what we were used to. So they moved us to Greenville, South Carolina to finish out. I think I was in the third grade. I was in the third grade. My brother would have been in the second grade. So we finished out in Greenville, South Carolina with my grandmother.
Gotcha.
And then eventually my mom and dad moved back to Winston.
Gotcha.
And that's how we
So how many years did you stay in Greenville?
Just half a school year.
Okay.
Because we think we did half of it in Chicago, and it just
Didn't work.
So they moved us to Greenville. It was slower
Okay.
speed. It was just a culture shock, I think, with Chicago coming from Winston.
Right.
School system, yeah, it was two
different things, yeah. So in church, that whole notion of church.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go. So the church is ambassador. I know this.
Right.
Bishop.
F.D. Patterson.
F.D. Patterson.
Yes, sir.
And one was only one of them in
Yes,
Jesus'
sir.
name. Amen.
Amen. There's a GE.
There's a GE. There's only one. Bishop F.D. Patterson.
Yes, sir.
Great man of God.
Mm-hmm.
So when you go to those stages and those ages, what is the development? Are you in school and are you in church? How are you growing and developing? Are you an athlete? And I ask that question this way because I was in church and I played drums.
Okay.
But I was more athletic. My mother kept us in church, but I was thinking I was going to go to athlete track.
Okay. Gotcha.
And I only played drums and didn't sing.
Wow.
Till
okay.
I was 19.
Gotcha. Okay. So for me, we were always singing in church because that was like you.
Tots choir.
Oh yeah. You gon' and my church you gonna do something like and what's funny was no matter what else you might have done in church, when it's time for the choir to sing, everybody get in the choir. So like even if you was an usher, you ushering, but when it's time for the choir to sing, on you Sunday, I don't care what you could have been doing, sound, usher, junior deacon. I don't care what you was doing. When it's time for the choir to sing, everybody sung in the choir.
Gotcha.
So we grew up where we sung. I didn't actually start. I liked sports, but I was never into sports where like I was on an organized basketball team.
Okay.
I never did. I think I played football maybe like a year.
Okay.
Organized football for a year.
Okay.
And I was pretty good at it, man, but I just didn't have a passion for it like the other guys. Like they was talking like, I'm going to the pros, I'm going to college on football, and I'm like, nah, man, I want to go to church. Like I really, like I love going to church.
So it hit you at an early age.
Yeah, because at my church, it was just so fun. And then a lot of probably some of my best friends were at church also.
Gotcha.
So it wasn't like, we going to church and then I'm gonna see my friends later. Like I'm going to church to see my friends, so we good, And those relationships are still like extremely strong today. I got stronger friendships with the guys I grew up in church with and females than I do with kids I may have grew up in a neighborhood with.
Wow.
Or even went to school with. So my strongest friendships are from that church.
How often did y'all go to church?
Back then?
Yeah.
You talking about in the 80s and the 90s?
Yeah.
All the time.
All the time.
Yeah,
Sunday
all day. Like
Sundays
literally,
all day.
you get there at 10, service started at 11, church would get out. Only reason church got out before 4 o'clock is because we had a broadcast service.
You had the broadcast service,
yeah.
that's
And then when that was over with, because that lasts about an hour, so, and then when that was over with, our choir would have to go sing at somebody's choir anniversary or something. And then you come back, because we had service at 7:30 every Sunday night. And you wouldn't get out to 10:30, 11 o'clock. And then you go back to school on Monday, Tuesday. If it was, church was always a revival or something going on, an anniversary, so it was always something. And our Saturdays at church seemed just as long as Sunday. Yeah, because the choir rehearsal would start like 12 noon. They wouldn't get out of rehearsal at 4 or 5 o'clock. And man, but there again, you was there with all your friends,
Right. So
so when we were younger, they would be in there rehearsing. We'd be outside playing football, playing around, whatever, but it felt like a huge family.
Got you.
So it never felt like, oh God, we got to be at church all day. It's like you literally just hung out with your family and friends for several hours. It just happened to be around church.
Wow.
So for us, we grew up like we cousins, and we weren't our blood, but that we grew up like that's my cousin, that's my sister, that's my brother. That's how we grew up. So to me, church was always like fun.
So did your mom find this particular church? Was she born into this church? How
my mom
can remember?
My mom was from Gaffney, South Carolina. My father who raised me, and I'll explain that later. But my father who raised me, Goldsmith, grew up in Greenville, South Carolina. He went to a service where Bishop F.D. Patterson came down to preach. And that's when he was like, I need to be where he at. And that's how he ended up in Winston-Salem.
He moved?
Yeah. My dad was 19, maybe 20 years old, I think. My father, Mickey Goldsmith, moved from Greenville and was living in Winston before he met my mom.
Wow.
He went back to Greenville, from my understanding, to preach or for a service, because he was a preacher.
Okay.
And saw my mom.
Okay.
And said, whatever he said, they ended up together. And they get married, and he moved her to Winston. He was already attached to Ambassadors.
Wow.
Right, and so that's how my mom,
so
got
the
attached to
impact of the
Ambassadors.
leader
Oh, definitely.
really played.
Yeah, literally got a young man to move from South Carolina to North Carolina.
That's amazing.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
Yes, sir.
Wow,
So that's
wow.
how my mother moved here.
I didn't know your father Goldsmith was a preacher. I didn't know that.
Yeah. He was a minister.
I didn't know
minister.
that.
Yeah.
Them apples don't fall far there.
They won't.
They don't fall far from the tree.
And I don't know how. Well, I'm gonna let you keep.
No,
that.
we can talk.
It's my biological father.
Yes. Let's discuss that.
Yes, my biological father I didn't meet till I was 16.
Okay.
And so I didn't even know nothing about him until I was 16. By this time, my father and my mother, my father who raised Mickey Goldsmith, him and my mom had divorced.
Gotcha.
So
what age were you when Goldsmith, Mickey
Yes, sir.
Goldsmith, and your mom got together?
Got
together. How
I wasn't born.
You weren't born.
So watch this. This is my understanding. When Mickey Goldsmith met Deborah Littlejohn at that time, she was already pregnant.
Got you.
And my understanding, he told her, "I know you're pregnant, but I'm gonna raise him like he mine."
I got you.
Which is how I become so when my mom moves here, she was already pregnant when she moved here and married him.
Wow.
Yeah, so I grew up with, I'm gonna go, I don't know no different.
You don't know anything.
Until they got divorced when I was 13. So I found out about my biological father when I was 16. Who lived in Gaffney, South Carolina.
Got you.
Yeah, so me and him, I met my grandmother through that.
Certainly.
And so I developed more of a relationship with her than I did with my biological father.
Certainly.
My biological father was much different than how I was raised. I was raised strictly church. You do right, you don't do nothing wrong. God gonna get you. You going to hell if you think like this or you do this.
Yep.
And so he was when I met him, he was an alcoholic.
Okay.
And so which kept me from actually, I think that kept me from drinking. When I met him, I was 16. At an age where 16, you kind of try to experiment. When I met him, it made me feel like I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I wouldn't try drinking at all. And so our relationship we never was like solid or talk every day. It was never any of that.
Right.
And then our relationship was like it was interesting. When my grandmother passed away, I thought me and him was gonna get closer, and we actually didn't. And so when I turned about 42, me and him, I went to talk to him because I was feeling frustrated as a man.
Certainly.
About my relationships with people and how I handle people. I feel like I did a good job of maneuvering how my mom raised me. I knew how to maneuver in church.
Right.
So I could have people around me thinking we close, and in my heart, I know we're not close.
Right.
So in other words, they would say, "Man, Mischeal, my best friend," but if you ask me, I would never say.
Right. That they're mine.
And so
I'm notorious.
out of frustration with myself, or feeling like I didn't know something, I just didn't feel. Things were unclear. My biological father this time was in Greensboro, North Carolina, and I called him, and we met up. And I had all the intentions of going in. I don't like the fact that you didn't help me and and I felt like as a man you should have did, and I had all the intentions of just, that's what I was going for.
Right.
And long story short, I get to meet him at this time. He's been drinking.
Yeah.
And we get in his house, we sitting there, and he's frustrated, man. He just cussing. He letting them fly. He's frustrated about something. And while we sitting there talking, And I say to him, well, you know, Dad, I got a problem, you know, and something I want to get off my chest. And I said, I don't like the fact that, you know, that you weren't there. And I'm actually frustrated with my mom about how I found out about you. And I just don't like it. And both of y'all, I ain't had a chance to tell both of y'all how I'm feeling. I'm 40-something years old, da, da, da. And while I'm talking, he's not talking. And he's drunk. He sat there and he said to me, he said, Mischeal, he said, you can't be mad at your mom. Because you're mad at a 19-year-old girl.
Right.
And I had never heard it like that.
Yeah.
Because what he was saying was your mom made a decision when she was 19.
Certainly.
You 40-something years old, so you still mad at a 19-year-old girl.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And once he said that, it just kind of it made me back off. And then the next thing he said was and Mickey needed to raise you. Because it didn't need to be me.
Gotcha. That was it.
For me, I got more out of that 5-minute part of our conversation than I got out of all them years I told you I was enjoying church.
Right.
Because all of that was me doing what I saw, what I thought was the right thing, or acting a certain way. Because I think now I'm listening to this man tell me, this is how I heard it. God had to do it this way so you could be like this.
So you could be like.
Because if he didn't do it this way so you can be like this, you would be like.
You would be like something else. Yeah.
And out of that.
Or you'd be like me.
And he drunk. Right. Then he says to me, and don't ever drink. And I said, well, I promise, I don't. He said, yeah, but you can't. The reason you can't drink, because I'm alcoholic. But my daddy was an alcoholic. Right. And then his daddy was an alcoholic. So, that's what he says to me. And I'm sitting there like, wow. Because I made a decision at 16, I'm drinking because I don't want to look like that.
Right.
Not knowing the history of why I really can't. Because I don't judge people that drink. I just know for me, I can't do that.
Right.
Some people can eat pineapples and some people can't.
Yeah. It is a mechanism for knowing generational curses and knowing what's important. It's very important to understand the history of where you come from because there's a lineage. You know, to all of the young men out there who are struggling with that piece, it's good to know where you come from because the alcoholism thread was running in your line. So had you started, you would have been trying to figure out, well, why do I like to drink? Not knowing.
Right.
It's a part of the lineage.
I didn't know, and that conversation, I was 42, I'm 45.
Wow.
That conversation changed my life. A year later, he passed away. We never talked again after that conversation.
Wow.
And then a year later, he passed away. And it hurt that, I think it hurt that we didn't get a chance to be closer.
Gotcha.
But that conversation to me probably did more for me, even if I had spent a lot of time. To me, it feels that way.
Yeah.
Because it just brought some clarity. Even in that conversation, after he said that, I listened to him talk about himself. And it literally helped me understand me. Because some of the stuff he said just did not make any sense. Like, it was just stupid. And I was like, yeah, that is so stupid. But I understand. Yeah. It was certain things he was saying. I'm like, that is such an awkward way of thinking. That makes no sense. But I understand because I do.
That's what I do.
Yeah, I do that. And I know why. Like, it makes sense to me. And so it helps me understand me. And it's actually, and he obviously, if he's listening now, I don't know.
Right.
It helped me. I think my relationships with people are better.
Certainly.
Now.
Certainly.
After having that conversation, for me,
Yeah, once you understand the whole gamut of who you are, when you know, like, this is who I act like. This is the pattern. Just to share, because this is the interview about you, but to share that we are more connected than you know. Like, my father was a preacher and an alcoholic. So he's a preacher and an alcoholic.
Wow.
So he's a preacher on Sunday. Sunday afternoon, he's an alcoholic.
Wow.
Now, he plays, he sings, he plays 15 instruments. Guitar, bass guitar, lead guitar, organ, drums, keys, harmonica, trumpet, trombone, saxophone.
Wow.
Clarinet. You put it in front of him, bass. he was able to do it. And so he battled with his demons of the calling.
Okay.
The thing was, he was never able to settle in with a relationship with God because he could preach, he could sing, he could do money. So when one area didn't work, he would drink himself and go to the next area until he ran into a problem. Then he'd drink himself and go to the next problem. When he ran into that problem, he'd run from that and go to something else. It was the curse of the gift.
Wow.
So when I found that out, I knew running was not going to be the answer. Whenever I came into a blockage, I had to stop and deal with that, or I would be just like my father. I would never finish anything. I'd never accomplish anything.
Wow. It's amazing, like you said, knowing it is important to know where you came from. Because there's so many lessons you can learn. Because had I not met my biological father, I may have made some decisions.
Yes.
You know, and I think at the time I met him, which the circumstances in which I met him, I wasn't in favor of. But once me and him had that conversation, it just brought a lot. To me, it just shows how amazing God is. Where we think it's supposed to be structured like this, and it's got to be this way, or it's not God, or it's got to be this way, or it can't be. And to watch God take something where you know, other words, I use this example a lot now when I'm talking to young men. Sometimes we can be headed the same direction, but we need to go in separate cars.
Yeah.
So let's say we all headed to Charlotte. From Winston, we headed to Charlotte. You can go 52 to 85, or you can go 40 to 77. The thing is, there's some things you're gonna see if you choose 52 that you're not gonna see if you choose 40.
That's right.
But we still could be headed to
same direction.
So I could have been headed to having this conversation with you anyway.
Yes.
But because there were decisions made, there's a road I took that got me here.
Certainly.
You know what I'm saying? And God has infinite wisdom, man. It's amazing how he can take a decision of a 19-year-old.
Yeah.
Two 19-year-olds, 20-year-olds, and say, you know what, I'm gonna do this, because he knew I was coming.
Right.
So he made sure Mickey ran into Frederick Patterson.
Right.
Before I was conceived.
They
had him to move to North Carolina.
Yes.
And then had somebody in Gaffney, South Carolina, to say, well, Mickey, we need you to come down here and preach.
Yes.
Well, he just happened to be in a service with Deborah Elaine.
She just happened to be in that
on
service.
the piano. She was playing the piano.
Right.
And he preached.
Right.
And he leans over and asks the pastor, well, who is that?
Right.
And he meets her.
Yeah.
But she's already pregnant by Sandy Terrell.
Right.
But he knew Mickey would say, I'm going to raise him like he mine. Because God knew, based on what Sandy said, Mickey need to be the one raising you, not Sandy.
Right. And God's wisdom in that to get you to that path it's amazing. And I share with people, don't be frustrated with the path.
Ooh, yes sir. Yes sir.
You may not like the path, but if you understand how God works, man, he uses some unorthodox things.
But Bishop, I don't think we can appreciate the path without getting to the destination. Because once you get to the destination, you look back and like, see, I wouldn't have, because like even for me with the path I just discussed about my birth or my mom, father, whatever, ending up at Ambassadors, I don't think my appreciation for music as far as gospel is concerned would be what it was had I not been at Ambassadors under Frederick Patterson, David Allen, and then David Allen having the vision to do stuff, the workshops he did that brought in other people, where you saw it at a different level, a different approach, and it's like, wow. So without that, I don't experience John Key or Darryl Coley or Donna Lawrence.
Yeah.
You know,
Thomas Whitfield.
Vanessa Bell Armstrong, the Winans, BB and CC Winans, they came, Lonnell Harris, which is a different style.
But he was
then, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I would have never experienced it at a close level like that, because I'm a member of the church. So there's access I'll get that you wouldn't get if you just came and sat in, in the building.
Certainly.
So I don't know if I get to experience Ricky Dillard, at the early age, or Hezekiah Walker. And this list can go on and on, but without that decision of a 19-year-old.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
And now you go from being angry at that 19-year-old to appreciating the shift that God moved. And
let me give you this right here. The Goldsmith side of me was teaching me to think.
Yeah.
That Terrell side of me wouldn't have taught me that.
Gotcha.
Because the Terrell side responds with, I'm gonna, you know, like this fight. Mickey Goldsmith would keep telling me, you need to think.
Gotcha.
No, you're a thinker. So for years, as a teenager, I want to fight all the time, but I'm thinking.
Why are you fighting?
Because I'm struggling. I'm struggling with, because I could go right in and just have because I had a temper. I did. Right. But because he taught me to think, it would make me pull back. So what I could have done in that moment, I didn't do.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because he kept saying, because in my ear I keep hearing think. You're a thinker, you're a thinker, you're a think. And so there were things that I probably would have got into. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so even with my daughter, I raised her to be a thinker.
Yeah.
But I never would have taught her that if I would have been raised by a Goldsmith instead of at that point. You know,
thank God for the 19.
Come on. Thank you. Lord, thank you.
Excellent segue into this. So you all were, I'm from a small town called Rockingham. Mm-hmm. And so there were two important pieces in Winston-Salem.
Okay.
Coming from Rockingham, really there were three major singers. Timothy Wright, he wrote a whole bunch of songs that we sang in the choirs. David Allen.
Okay.
Shirley Caesar.
Right.
So these are this is pre-John Key, this is before John Key, right? So me coming to Winston-Salem, there were two places that you had to get to. If you can get to those two places, when I went back to Rockingham, I was famous. If you could sing for Shirley.
Okay. All right.
And if you could sing at Ambassador.
All right, David Allen.
Yes,
sir.
And so I'm not here until 86, and you were how old then?
86, I would have been 14.
15. All right, so it's 14, 15 when you
I'm probably younger than that, 12 or 13 probably, but go ahead.
So is that when you find your love affair? Because the church has so many different areas. Mm-hmm. There's drums, there's sound, there's choir, there's choir director, there's piano player, there's organ player. You could be an usher, you could be close to the bishop and drive the car, you could be a pastor or a preacher. What led you first to this route of music?
Music was something you had. That wasn't an option at Ambassador. Like I said, no matter what you did, you gonna sing, you know. But as a musician, I could say I was 14, and I think I told my mom I don't want to sing no more. I think it was group. I was like, man, I'm just tired of singing.
Gotcha.
You know, and Bishop Patterson thing was okay. Well, what you gonna do? Because you gonna do something. You ain't gonna sit.
Right.
You got to figure out something to do. And I think I just blurted out, well, I want to play the piano. I don't know why I said it. You know, honestly, I have no idea. I'm going to play piano. And I promised, man, I think I had that conversation. I did say that with my mom, and I'm sure she told Bishop Patterson what I said. So when my mom and dad split, at that time, we would go with my dad for the summer. So we with my mom for the school year.
Gotcha.
So that summer, man, with my dad, and because my mom obviously told him, Bishop said he won't play piano. My dad bought me this little small, I don't know if it's a Yamaha, but it had little bitty keys. It had these green buttons on it, man. And so I
had one of those.
Yeah, I think he bought me that, and he knew a little something. He taught me how to play. And so I'm playing it, whatever, and I'm going through the sound. They had the drum. I was probably more interested in the drums thing you could do, So I'm doing that.
Side note, did you ever play drums? Because all of us played drums.
Not really.
Not really?
I tried.
Oh, musician who didn't play drums.
Yeah, at Ambassador, it was like 15. You had the main drummer, and it was 9 guys sitting there waiting for their turn.
Yeah.
You wasn't going to get on, get on the drums. No time soon. That was not going to happen quick. That was not a quick work. Not at Ambassador, not the drums. So I get back to Ambassadors, and when I get back, man, I can't remember if it's happened the same night. I remember coming back, and I'm sitting in the back. My dad had just dropped us off a Sunday night, and I walk in church, and I'm sitting down in the back, man, and the choir singing, and Sharon Allen was singing, I was down to my last dime.
Yes, sir.
Jesus stepped in. I'm like, I don't know. And I got to the I'll make it. I was like, man, that song is hot, man. I
Yes,
like
sir.
this song.
Yes,
so I go to my mom and I said, Mom, come on, Mom, play piano. I said, Mom, I want to play that song. She said, okay, I'll show you. Okay, so we get, because that upright piano at the house.
Yeah.
And I get home and I learned how to play. My mom taught me the first
song?
My first song was I'll Make It.
And
So it was like before chords.
That's
My mom taught me them 4 chords of that song. And I played it every day. I played I'll Make It. And so when my boys from the church found out I could play it, at Ambassadors, and like a lot of other churches, I'm sure, when it's pastor's birthday or anniversary, if you didn't have money, you could
showcase your
gift. And so we worked out what I was gonna play. I'll Make It. My boy was gonna, I don't know if it was Rashad or who I was able to get on the drums, and somebody was on the bass, and we played I'll Make It. And the next time we played it, we did a different twist to it, same song. That's all I knew. And so now every time I learned I'll Make It like 100 different ways I could do with it. It was just I'll Make It. And I'll never forget one Sunday, man, Bishop Patterson, I'm sitting in the back of the church because now I ain't got to sing no more. So technically, I'm a piano player, but I don't know one song.
Right, you don't know one.
So I was sitting in the back, man, and I'm sitting in the back chilling, man, and Bishop say, Goldfinger, come down here and play for offering. I was like, oh, Lord. So I get up, David would get up, I'll make it for offering, and I get through and go on back to the back, sit down. And then one week, man, Bishop Patterson came and he had this big keyboard, man. He went to somewhere and bought me this keyboard.
Wow.
And he said, I want you to learn some more songs, and gave me that keyboard. And I took the keyboard home, man, and started learning, And then I went to David and said, I really want to get into playing. And all David said, he said, sit down and play Sunday morning. And I was like, huh? That's how you going to learn, sit down and play Sunday morning. So he had the upright piano at Ambassadors.
Right.
So there was an upright piano, and they would take the microphone and stick down
in there.
So I'm playing the piano, and so when you got the organ, the choir, and all the sound going, the drum, you can't really hear that upright piano.
Right.
So I'm just trying to figure it out, whatever. And then one Sunday, man, David was going to the gospel music workshop that next week, and Bishop Patterson said, "Listen, David gonna be gone. We ain't bringing nobody in. Mischeal gonna play Sunday morning. We ain't gonna pay nobody. Mischeal gonna play Sunday morning."
Wow.
I'm like, wait a minute. I got to learn some more. I got to learn some more songs. So I go to the choir director at the time. I said, man, he said he gave me this song. You try to learn these, and I went there and tried to learn all these songs, man. And all week, I'm thinking I got it together, man. I get there that Sunday morning, man, and it was horrible. It was just, it was so bad. It was so bad when the mothers come up to you. They say, baby, it's gonna be all right. It's gonna be all right. I was like, yeah. Boy. I went home, man, that night.
Oh gosh.
I went home and cried. I laid in my bed and I cried. I say, Lord, I promise you, if you just teach me how to play, I won't play nothing, but I just play at church.
Wow.
If you just help me, because I don't know, because at the time I don't know who else to ask. Because David kept saying, well, nah, just sit down Sunday morning. And I practiced, man, and somehow stuff started coming together. I can't explain it. It was the Lord. I was kind of just starting to make sense.
Yeah.
How to get from here to here. How to get from this chord to this chord. And so the patterns of the music started to come together. And so I was able to learn other music. I wasn't great, but I was able to play the song enough
to get through.
Yeah, man. And so that's kind of how that got me into
the passion.
The passion of like as a musician, keyboard player, organ player. That got me in. That's how I got into that.
Wow. Yeah. Now, how often did you practice? Because I wanted to go into that. How often did you practice?
At that time, I would practice every day.
Yeah, because I think this generation, they don't practice.
I'm gonna say this way about practice. I think the challenge with some people when they practice, this is what I learned as I got older. The challenge with us, sometimes we go to practice and we practice the stuff that we already know.
Certainly.
That's where you mess up.
That's where you mess up.
So what happens is, in order for you to progress and get better, then the study time need to be on the stuff you don't know.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And that's why a lot of times they feel like they're not practicing because they keep sitting down going over the stuff, perfecting the stuff they already know and keep going over and over and over.
Yeah.
So if it's a certain run you know how to play, you may practice the run every day to make sure you step, but it's not something you should be studying every day. Like study another run in private, and then when you mastered it, then you pull it out.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So to me, back then I would practice every day because my love for the music was at that level. I wanted to learn. And then as stuff started coming and it started making more sense, then you learn another level. I was learning theory and not knowing it was
what
theory.
it was. Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? And so I just didn't know, because I didn't go to school for piano. I
was about to say no real formal training.
No, sir, not at all.
This is all God given. And for those who have been around you, they understand the mastery of how you play. You have such a knack for flow. You know, and a lot of people don't understand flow. So tell the audience, what is flow, and can I get it? Can I get flow?
Because I function.
Let's explain, what is flow?
To me, flow is really what it sounds. You can use it in any area. It's this move that happens, and you stay. It's like a groove. And in that groove, you stay in that groove. Whatever that is to stay in the groove is what you do. So like for me, because I function in church, it's a feel that you trust that I need to be playing this in this moment.
Gotcha.
Not knowing that when you play this, it's going to create this, which is going to lead you to needing to play this in this way. Because you don't, I've heard you say before, finding God in the room.
Oh yeah.
So because I function in church, your flow is dictated by whatever God wants in the moment.
Gotcha.
So when the times where I leave a service and I'm really tired, it's because I'm trying to do stuff on my own.
Yeah.
I've never left church when I'm flowing in whatever God is doing.
Yeah.
Because I'm not doing it in my strength.
Certainly.
I'm not even in my intellect. I don't even know why. I just know I need to be doing this right now. It's a connection, and church is a connection with God and what He wants in that moment. Because I think sometimes as I won't say just as musicians, those of us that attend church, I think sometimes we treat it like if pastor got to figure this out.
Right.
When I found out, because I got relationships with several pastors, they like, no man, I need y'all to.
Oh yeah.
Because if you got something happening, I'm going with you too. I don't think every pastor wants you to, like, everything got to come out of it. Like, no, I want it to come out of you too.
It's a team effort. You know, people don't understand how important connection is, especially when you're talking about musician and pastor, knowing the flow, because sometimes we're just flowing. But if a musician can take us to a place that we hadn't even planned to go. So music is that important to the whole process. Yeah. But if you don't know flow, if you don't understand it, then you become messy. It becomes messy.
Yeah, and even in the flow for worship, it's a trust there. It's a faith move.
Yeah.
Because I can be playing something and decide, well, I'm finna play this. I happened to me this week in service where we were playing one thing, and then I got the attention. We kind of needed to mellow out, so I tried to mellow out. But then I felt the flow say, no, play this.
Gotcha.
And then I played that, and then another wave hit the room.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But it was in the flow and of what God wanted in that moment. So that flow to me is like, it's spiritually, it's this connection you got with God that says, okay, do this right here, and then do this right here. And you have no idea why. Yeah. Like there are times I play a song like this don't even make no, why would I even? And I would just play a song and everybody like, oh.
Yeah, but how much of that is practice? Like for instance, in order for you to flow here or there, you got to know like the song to flow here and there. Like if you haven't practiced that, you know how that's what I mean by that whole notion of practicing, and I'm sure you play in every key.
I do. I think the flow. I think based on what you're saying, there's some time spent. You can't understand that flow if there's not any time spent away from the moment or the service.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what I'm saying? Right. I told some musicians that work under me right now in ministry. I said to them, and the singers, I said, listen, when you play a sport, they teach plays during the week. They call plays on game day.
Yeah.
So what happens is if you didn't learn it during the week, I can't call that play.
Can't call that play.
so
you don't know.
You don't know. Yeah. So
please learn to play.
You have to learn. You have to learn to play. That's what we spend time. Football coaches teach plays doing it.
right.
They go over plays. They go over and over and over till you got it like the back end. Which means as soon as they call that play, you know exactly what to do. So my thing is, if you don't spend time with God, where you're just at your instrument.
Yeah.
You with me? So if I'm at my instrument and I'm talking to God, and then in my like God, what you want to hear right now, not in front of people.
Right.
Not because I got a concert.
Right.
I'm at home and it's just me and you. I ain't doing nothing but going to bed after this.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? There ain't no audience. It's just God. It's just me and you. So what do you want to hear right now? And then when you get used to that flow comes when you're used to hearing God say, "Okay, turn left. Okay, turn right." I know. Or like Sunday, I just want to say that I love you. I love you, Jesus. Okay, so I'm going into that, but that song got A flat, but I'm in F.
Right.
So I play it in F.
Right.
You know, because
you have to know. That's where you are.
That's where I am.
Like, you can't just switch, because most musicians don't understand. When you switch a key, you can switch a flow.
Yeah. It affects
the flow.
It sometimes unless you there's some things we can do relative minors that you can do to chord wise get to a different key.
Yeah.
And I probably could have got the A flat technically, but I wasn't playing it because I needed somebody to sing it. Sometimes if you change keys, the way you sing a song, it affects the vocals.
That's true.
But I wasn't expecting nobody to necessarily sing. I needed it in the moment, and when I did it, the moment was you can tell.
Yeah.
Because the whole atmosphere of the room, and people were coming to the altar, and that's why I was sitting there like, yeah, God, you know, I trusted you again, and it worked.
Here it is. Yeah. So when did you write your first song? Because not only are you a musician, but you write music as well. And so we're going to cover writing music and then production. So let's move from writing it to production.
Okay. So my first song I wrote was this song called "I'll Never Be the Same." Nobody in the world has ever heard it. Smith, I will never be the same. No, I have never taught it to anybody. I know it's in C sharp. I still hear it in my head. I'm not a singer. That's the first song I ever wrote. I don't know why I tried to write it. I don't know how old I think I was about 14 to 15. Because at my church, because David Allen was a writer, the mantle for being able to write music was in the church.
Right.
So a lot of it was, I wouldn't know, it was several of us that would try to write music. So because we always practice, we would try to practice the original stuff we wrote. So I wrote a song, and I can't remember if I taught it to the crew or not, but I had a song. But the first song I wrote that I actually taught to a group was "If God Said It." That's the very first song. Yeah, that was the very first song I ever wrote that I actually taught somebody.
Wow.
Yeah.
I know that song.
Yeah.
So that was.
Yeah, and then no. That's the first song. Oh, I'm sorry, I got to back up.
Let's back up.
I had praise Him. Get up on your feet, praise. I originally wrote that because they were trying to come up with. Wow, watch this. I got word that they were trying to come up with a new song. I want to say it was for Gospel Expo, a new opener.
Okay.
Oh man, I think it was Gospel Expo. I know it was a gospel show, and they needed a song as an opener. So I wrote "Get Up on Your Feet, Praise Him," right? And I don't even remember the studio I was in. I want to say Mike Clinton. Man, I can't remember. And so that was the first. That was the first song. But then the first song I wrote, to a group, and it was actually sung out somewhere. Yes. Was "If God Said It," and I taught that to Soul Out when I started Soul Out. And I had to hurry up and finish the song because we were coming up on our first rehearsal, and I had to have something to teach.
So what made you want to start a group? Let me divert for a second.
It actually wasn't something I wanted to do. I was playing for another artist at the time. He had a group, Chris Brinson. I was playing with Chris Brinson, and we were traveling. And I had a relationship with God enough where God was saying, okay, it's time for you to back away. And so I backed away, and I was just finna focus in on church. At that time I was married, just got married. And then God said, I had a group of females called Sold Out, SOLDOUT. It was 4 ladies. And we did a concert opening up for Unique, this group called Unique from Rochester, New
I
York.
remember Unique.
And the group sung there, some original music I had, and we did some top 40 stuff. But at that time I was still playing for Chris Brinson, and then eventually I stopped. I just couldn't keep it together. And then God said to me, Sold Out. So I thought it was my S-O-L-D, like, okay, so now Sold Out gonna be a bigger group. Okay, cool. And God said no. And he broke down Saints of Uncompromising Living over Unrelenting Trials. And I went back and wrote it down and realized it was S-O-U-L-O-U-T.
Gotcha.
That's how I got the acronym for God
Sold
literally
Out.
gave, because I'm not that smart. God gave me that. I'm not that intelligent. I'm not. And so when I started that, some of those girls that was in that Sold Out, S-O-L-D,
was a part
of that when I originally started Soul Out, S-O-U-L-O-U-T. And so that's how If God Said It was the first song that I taught to them. And so once I taught them a song and they liked it, I was like, oh, so my music ain't, okay. So then I went back and taught something else.
How old are you?
Wrote something else, rather. I was 23.
Wow. Okay.
I was 23. I had it's amazing. I had just got married. I got married, my daughter was born in November 96. Me and my wife, my girlfriend then, we got married 4 months later, February 97.
Gotcha.
I started Soul Out the same year I just got married.
Wow.
It was not
So
the smartest thing to do,
is
but that's
not
what
the
happened.
smartest thing.
Not at all, but hey, here we are.
Here we are.
So yeah, I started Soul Out the same year.
Wow.
Yeah, I started the same year.
Wow.
And started write music. I had to, because I had a group of singers, man, and they could sing. So
Yeah.
like, I gotta. And so and then we started talking about recording.
Yeah.
Which means I gotta write more songs,
You have to always do that.
Yeah. If you're gonna record. And so yeah, that's how that got started, man. Originally, just the group that God told me to start. So they gave me the name, the acronym. I was like, okay, and so I started Soul Out and started writing music.
Good deal. Hold on. So, listen, it has been absolutely wonderful. We're going to come back for a part 2 because I want to hear the rest of this story. He is just starting out to talk about Soul Out and talking about this whole notion of being in this group. But we have some dynamic stuff that I want to share with you. Listen, take a moment. Go down there and subscribe, and get prepared for part 2 because it's getting ready to be uploaded in a few minutes. I appreciate you for coming out, hanging out with me as we continue Behind the Veil with the maestro himself, Mischeal Goldsmith. Come on, join me, and part 2 is coming up in one moment as we go Behind the Veil.